Have you ever wondered why the more you seek awakening, the more it slips away? Why every glimpse of clarity fades as soon as you try to hold it? You meditate and read, you do the inner work, but some part of you still feels unfinished, like you're almost there, almost free, almost you. But what if that feeling, the chase, the striving, the subtle ache, isn't a flaw in your path? What if it is the path? What if the very act of seeking is the thing keeping you asleep? See, we've been taught that truth is something you earn, that growth is a ladder, that we must become better, wiser, and more aligned. But what if all of that is backwards? What if you're not here to climb toward the truth, but to fall into it, to dissolve into something so quiet, so familiar, you've forgotten it was ever you? Because you're not lost, you're not broken. Maybe you've just been dreaming, and the only thing left to do is stop trying to wake up. Just be still and listen. There's something ancient beneath the noise, something that's always been there. Let's remember what it is. Most people think awakening is about becoming something more peaceful, more present, more spiritual. But the deeper teachings, the ones buried beneath centuries of noise, whisper something very different. They say the true self isn't something you evolve into, it's something you forget, and then, slowly, remember. But that happens through surrender, not through effort. The mystics knew this. The Zen masters, the non-dual sages, the desert poets, they didn't teach you how to improve yourself. They taught you how to disappear, and science, strangely enough, is beginning to echo their silence. In neuroscience, there's no single place where the self lives. There's no command center, no pilot, just processes, inputs, a narration with no narrator. And still, something is aware of it all. That awareness, silent, constant, and untouched, is closer to the truth of who you are than any identity you could ever build. But you've been taught to look away from it, to focus on becoming, to chase meaning, clarity, evolution. When in fact, everything you've been chasing is already watching from behind your eyes. This is where the path turns strange, where logic begins to dissolve and something older than thought begins to appear. I'm sure you can feel it, can't you? Is not in your mind, not in words, but somewhere deeper, where truth doesn't need proof because it's already pulsing in your bones. We grow up believing that life is a path, a journey with a beginning, middle, and end. You start here, then you go there, and you become something along the way, smarter, stronger, wiser. The same story gets wrapped around spirituality. We believe we must become awakened. We believe awakening is a goal, a state to reach, a version of ourselves waiting at the top of the mountain, if only we can climb hard enough. But that's not what awakening is. That's just the ego dressing itself in white robes, still climbing, still wanting, still afraid. The truth is far stranger and far simpler. You don't become the true self, you forget you were ever anything else. In Tibetan Buddhism, there's a saying, the path isn't about getting somewhere, it's about seeing through the illusion that you were ever apart from it. Let that settle, because every time you try to fix yourself, every time you strive to get there, you're quietly reinforcing the lie that something is missing now. You're strengthening the illusion of a you who needs to awaken. And that illusion is the only thing blocking the light. This isn't theory. You can feel it in your own mind. Think of the part of you that's always been watching. Not your opinions, not your personality, but the silent, wordless presence behind your eyes. The part that didn't change when you turned 12, or 25, or 40. The one who noticed every phase of your life, but was never caught inside any of them. That's not something you evolve into. That's something that watches evolution happen. It's not in time, it sees time, and it's always there. So why can't we stay with it? Why do we keep drifting back into the chase? Because the ego can't comprehend what doesn't change. It needs movement, goals, progress. The ego survives by becoming. So when you finally get quiet enough to touch the stillness, the ego panics. You feel the urge to reach for a thought, to explain, to anchor, to hold on to anything that feels like you. But in that moment, what's rising isn't danger. It's the unraveling of the mask. The ego doesn't fight because it's evil. It fights because it's afraid to dissolve, afraid to lose control, afraid that without all it's doing, there will be nothing left. But the silence doesn't need to fight back. It just waits, because it knows, eventually, you'll get tired of climbing a mountain that was never there. And here's the part no one tells you. The dream has to deepen before it can break. You can't wake up unless you've been asleep, fully asleep, lost in the absurdity of life, the pain, the injustice, the wanting, the stories. Why? Because awakening isn't an escape from the dream. It's a burning through. It's when you've played every role, believed every story, and finally realized none of them can hold what you are, not because they were wrong, but because they were too small. That's why suffering often precedes awakening, not because it's punishment, but because pain erodes what's false. It peels away your defenses, it brings you to your knees, and that's where the real shift begins. Not when you rise up stronger, but when you stop resisting the fall. Look at nature. Some seeds only sprout after fire, some stars only form after collapse. Some truths only rise in silence. What if your breaking point wasn't the end of the path, but the clearing of it? What if your emptiness wasn't failure, but the first glimpse of what doesn't need to be filled? We spend our lives doing, trying, reaching, healing, and all of that is beautiful until it becomes a disguise. The final illusion isn't the world, it's the one who believes it needs to be different. So what happens when that one lets go? What happens when you stop trying to wake up and just sit quietly, letting the dream wash over you? You're not pushing, you're not running, you're just watching. That's when something strange and beautiful starts to happen. Not a breakthrough, not an insight, is a soft dissolving, a quiet noticing, a return to something that was never lost, only covered. There comes a moment, quiet, small, when all the words fall away. No insight, no lightning bolt, just a pause so deep you almost miss it. A breath that feels like it's always been breathing itself. You realize you've been watching your life like a movie. Each scene passing, each emotion felt, but something in you was never pulled into the screen. It just watched, it just knew. Even when you didn't, and now you see it. That silent presence was never waiting to arrive. It was simply waiting for you to notice. For years, you thought awakening was a shift, a doorway, a final step after enough effort. But now, you feel the weight drop. There's no finish line, no version of you that completes the puzzle, just this presence, unmoving, unimpressed, but deeply, unmistakably here. And you are it. The seeker was never searching for answers, only for rest, for something that doesn't come and go, for something that doesn't need to change to be true, and that something is already aware, already watching, already free. You don't need to dissolve into light. You already are the light. You just forgot how close it lives to everything you are. It touches joy. It touches pain. It holds confusion as gently as peace. It lets things pass through without losing itself in any of them. This is where things shift, not into some higher realm, but into the simplicity of being aware that you're aware. The tension inside your chest softens, the noise in your head slows, the trying fades without a fight, and in that stillness, something clicks. Not as an answer, but as a deep exhale. You were never becoming, you were always being, and now you remember. There's no special method to reach this place because you're not trying to reach it, you're remembering it. And like any memory, it returns more easily when you stop forcing it. So what now? How do you live this? How do you stay close to something that doesn't demand your attention, but quietly waits for it? Start small. Sit for 5 minutes. Not to meditate, not to breathe correctly, just to notice. The sound of the room, the weight of your body, the pulse in your fingers, not as an exercise, but as a way of saying, I'm here, and that's enough. Watch your thoughts without chasing them. They'll swirl, they'll talk, they'll try to convince you to follow. You don't have to fight them. You don't have to silence them. Just stay where you are. Let the waves come. Let them crash. and stay dry on the shore. You don't need rituals to return to awareness, though they can help you remember. Drink your tea slowly. Let the wind touch your skin without commentary. Walk without needing to get somewhere. Every act becomes sacred when you stop trying to extract something from it. When doubt returns, and it will, notice how quickly the mind wants to fix the feeling. That's okay. But before you follow, pause. Not to correct the thought, just to feel the space it moved through. That space has no opinion, no resistance, it just holds. And if it ever feels like you've lost the thread again, don't reach for the memory of this moment. Reach for the silence that was holding it. It's still here, it never left, and neither did you. If this spoke to something in you, stay with us, subscribe, and if there's a moment you'd like to share, drop it in the comments. Sometimes a single sentence can wake something in someone else. Sometimes that someone is you. Thanks for watching.